thing I'm going to do is ask Karen to read the notice and summons of the meeting.
Thank you, Chair. Got a wee bit of feedback there. To all members of the Environment and Regeneration Committee, you're hereby summoned to attend the monthly meeting of the Environment and Regeneration Committee, which will be a hybrid meeting to be conducted remotely via WebEx and also physically in the chamber today, Wednesday, the 14th of June at 4 p.m. And I'll take the roll call. Alderman Derek Hussey. Alderman Keith Kerrigan. Alderman Julie Middleton. Here. Thank you. Councillor Jason Barr. Councillor Raymond Barr. Councillor John Boyle. Councillor Caitlin Deany. Councillor Alex Duffy.
Sure.
Councillor Brian Hart.
And shot.
Councillor Emma McGinley. Councillor Rory McHugh.
Sure.
Councillor Patrick Murphy.
Unsure.
Councillor Declan Norris. And Councillor Martin Riley. We'll just, they may join the meeting, Chair. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. I'm sure some of them will be joining us during the course of the meeting. There's no apologies cited there, so I see Martin Riley's just joined online there. So he is.
Chair.
Apologies for being late. Item 3, members, declarations of members' interests. You can declare them now, or if it pops under your head during the meeting, you can declare it during the meeting under the item. Or if you're online, you can put it under the chat box as we go along. So that takes us, members, to item 4, which is Chair's business. I have 2 councillors that raised issues with me prior to the meeting. But just before that, on behalf of myself, I want to welcome everybody to this committee. I've had the privilege of chairing this committee a couple of times, and I think we have worked well together previously. Done a lot of good work. I particularly want to welcome those who are newly elected to the council and those who find themselves on this committee for the first time. Congratulations and well done. I want to congratulate Raymond Barr, who will be the vice chair of this committee. Hopefully I'll not have to call on him too often, but if I do, I'm sure he'll be more than happy to step onto the breach. I also want to thank the members who were unsuccessful and were members of this committee the last time round. Just to say thanks to them and for the work that they put it under the committee as well. And I look forward to working with everybody throughout the year ahead. So, members, that brings us to item 5, and it's matters arising from the previous meeting.
You say you have 2 members?
Oh, sorry, that's the first mistake I've made already. Under matters arising, Councillor Norris first, and then Councillor Boyle.
Thank you, Chair, for bringing me in. I've just a quick proposal. It's around the online booking system in the Eglinton Recycling Centre. I was looking for maybe a review by the HSC to just look at it all over again. A lot of people have come to me about the online booking system. I'm just looking, would it be possible? I know that review was done a couple of years ago now, and I'm just wondering if they could look at it again, if that was possible.
Yeah, through you, Chair, we're more than happy to engage with HSC and look at that, and we'll bring an update report to members as soon as we can in relation to that. Okay.
Councillor Boyle, are you looking on this item? Okay. Are you content with that, Councillor Norris? Councillor Barr, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. I'm just double checking that includes all recycling centres throughout the district, not just the one in Eglinton, or just the one in Eglinton.
Yeah, I think that the issue in relation to the online booking system, because of the Health and Safety Executive, was really only Eglinton and Glendermot recycling centres. All other centres weren't affected by that. So we will ask them to look at those 2 centres. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, our second matter is Councillor Boyle. Go ahead, John.
Chair, sorry,
Uh,
sorry, apologies, Chair, for jumping in. I'd put my name in the chat box just on this first item, if that's okay.
Yes, go ahead, councillor.
Yeah, thank you. Just to follow on from Councillor Norris's point, happy with what he's proposed, but just to ask officers as well. I know that there's been some discussion following the decision around the opening times of the various different civic community sites. I think my colleague Councillor Mooney has been in touch with Connor just on that. I appreciate as part of this review that Councillor Norris has asked for if officers could also just give an update on the planned reduced hours and the reasoning behind that in relation to the choices of bodying different centres together. I think given that the Waterside has a booking system and only has one location in that part of the city, it would be useful just to get a steer from officers in relation to that item. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, members, through you, happy to bring an update report to members in relation to that. Now, just for members' information, as you're aware, we do have a recycling working group for members, and hopefully that will now be populated next week when we have the special committee in relation to our working groups. And we would suggest that we have an early meeting of the recycling group, basically to try and get feedback from members that on any potential changes that you might want to see. As Councillor Rowley picked up there, clearly members did take the decision through the rates estimates process to put restrictions in terms of that particular service. We've got to try and now implement them as best we can. We have followed a rationale in and around trying to ensure that we have parity across the district and indeed available facilities to people as best we can. But again, we recognise that that may not be perfect in every instance, and so we're more than happy to discuss with members. So we will call a meeting of that recycling group as soon as possible, and then we will bring a further report to members in terms of your information in relation to that. Thank you.
Councillor Norris, go ahead.
I was just sort of linking into that because in Eglinton, like we've closed it on a Saturday, and it's sort of the day that everybody's off, and everybody's been coming to me saying it's closed. No, it's going to be closed on a Saturday, and what can we do about it? So it's just really jumping on that,
Okay, and vote Councillor Kerrigan is now in the chamber. Go ahead, Councillor Boyle.
Thanks, Chair, and thanks for affording me the opportunity to come in under your chairperson's business. I'll keep it brief. It's come to light over the last 24, 48 hours or so that the disabled access arrangements for Cemetery Sunday and the City Cemetery are potentially in a situation where it may pose a difficulty for people to attend what is for them a very important occasion. Information I have is that there won't be any provision for vehicles to be in the city cemetery or access the city cemetery, irrespective of any circumstance, as I'm given to understand it, on the occasion of Cemetery Sunday, which I believe is Sunday week. It's really just to tease out some of the detail around, well, first off, how that has come about, because some people have obviously come to expect that they can access a cemetery. And I know that we would all like to see a situation where as many people as possible can attend on an occasion like that. So it's really simply just to put it back to our officers to see if we can tease it out. And if there are potential solutions, and myself and my own party colleague Mark H. Durkin are working on what we think might be a solution, but I don't want to make promises at this point. But it's really just to see where we are, how we got to where we are, and then maybe work our way forward to finding solutions to what is clearly potentially going to be an area of disappointment for people, Chair. So I think that's it in a nutshell. I'll pass it over to the officers through you, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Boyle. I think Connor is going to respond.
Yeah, thanks, Chair, for that. As members will know, Cemetery Sunday is an event organised by the church who make use of council facilities. And as such, we have to make sure that anyone using that facility on that day does so safely. We have relayed those concerns to the organisers, and we are working with them to address some of the issues. We are meeting again the next day or two to look specifically at access for disabled users. However, it's likely that any access will be restricted, given that we have to ensure the safety of pedestrians. But we are looking at a workaround for that, and we will ensure that that information is provided well in advance of the event and through the church, who, as I say, are the organisers.
Thanks, Chair. And just briefly again, I'm fairly sure that officers will feed that information back to elected representatives as well. I certainly would appreciate it. I'm sure others would as well. I mean, clearly and key for us is that we can communicate information to our constituents or electors, as Councillor Hussey likes to refer to people. But whatever terminology you might use, obviously communication is going to be key here. And I, for one, and I'm sure my colleagues, all of us, would be keen to share that, Chair. So I look forward to further update and further report through the next 24, 48 hours, if that's at all possible. So thanks for the response, Conor.
Yeah, through you, Chair, members, we will certainly update elected members as well as the public through media and social media in terms of the arrangements as and when we finalise them in the next day or so. Thank you.
Okay, folks, that brings us now to item 5, which is the matters arising from our previous committee meeting from Wednesday the 15th of March. So matters arising, pages 5 to 16. Alderman Hussey.
Thank you, Chair. And I know it's 3 months since our last meeting, so a couple of issues here. ER 68/23 IV Terrace update. And it's a statement on there reference to management of weeds. And could I have an update from officers as to what weed management system we're utilising? You know, there are concerns beyond the city centre with regard to the encroachment of weeds in our thoroughfares. I will in particular name Castledare Town Centre, which you yourself, Chair, are well aware of. In the break from the early training through, took a walk around Guildhall Square down into Wellington Place. Pristine and well done to council. But why do we not have that same service beyond this city? And sorry to have to say that. I know there's been ongoing work with Virgin Media and putting in cables, etc., in Castledare Town Centre. But the place is an absolute disgrace at this moment in time, with weeds, with detritus, etc., lying about. It needs to be addressed, and that is no reflection on the street cleaner who does his very best in our town. But there is a need, I would say, for a task force to go in there and look at the current situation that exists. There was an agreement that there'd be an annual power washing of our area. We're still waiting on that to happen. Maybe it was delayed because of the ongoing works that were to be carried out. I don't know. But it's certainly time that the appearance of the streetscape in those main thoroughfares in Castledare was addressed. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, through you, Chair, member, if I can start, and maybe I'll bring Conor in terms of power washing. But members, as you're aware, the weed removal on streets is the responsibility of DFI, and DFI have actually been in the city centre undertaken that weed spraying. We are more than happy to make contact with DFI on members' behalf and make those points to them in relation to that. I don't know whether, Conor, you want to add to that and maybe comment on the street cleaning as well.
Yeah, Chair, just to say that I had seen DFI spraying in the Strabane area last week. So they have a number of quads. Members, you may see them around. There's 2 guys on quads who will drive up and down and spray, but responsibility for the spraying of weeds lies with DFI. We've had numerous conversations with them on this. And unless they're sprayed, it's an impossibility to try and keep any control of them. With regards to the washing, the contractor has been tasked now with washing in Strabane, Castlederg and those other villages that benefit from that process.
Alderman Kerrigan.
Thank you very much, Chair, and wishing you well and your Vice Chair in the year that lies ahead. Just to follow on, just from Alderman Hussey's point, they might have been coming in. How much are we doing any spraying ourselves as a council? Because I know there was various talk there about what we could use and what we couldn't use, and just clarifying, are we doing any? And I know it has been a little bit of a perfect storm because, as the rest of the ag councillors in particular know, the issues with the housing executive getting grass areas cut, and then DFI road service, and council effectively is kind of getting blamed for it all, even though I do understand and respect that it's not within council's remit. But I mean, some of the bits that the housing executive cut, I mean, flip how you butchered is the handiest way of putting it. You'd have been well taken Crawford's could have made a better job coming on lifting silage or off it, rather than what they've done in some places, but just touching on that. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, members will know that council had previously endorsed the withdrawing the use of glyphosates in the spraying process, and we have looked to reduce that where possible. Now, we still use it for noxious weeds, and we're required to control weeds. We have also had a workshop with members where we looked at various alternatives, and we will be bringing a further report into potentially July or September's committee looking at the options going forward. It is an ongoing discussion, not just at council level, but across anyone who has weed control responsibilities. But certainly we'll have another report in front of members for consideration in due course.
Okay, members, if any other member wants to, Alderman Hussey.
Sorry, I have a couple of items raising. As I said, it's been 3 months since our meeting, so ER 74/23, the Diamond, the consultation progress going on, and one of the consultees in regard to that whole process was Castlederg Royal British Legion. I actually met on site this morning. I was meeting with Virgin representatives, but I encountered a couple of representatives from the local Legion who are extremely concerned with the seal that has been placed. Now, this was done by council, maybe Strabane Council, but the seal that has been placed on the War Memorial, the seal is coming away from where the joints are on the War Memorial and would need to be replaced before winter, because obviously water ingresses, frost, etc. The War Memorial is in 3 sections, and each of those sections then are concreted, and there is a seal. That seal needs to be examined and looked at. The other issue that they had too was that there are 2 trees in the vicinity of that War Memorial that are in need of capping. I know, Colin, some time ago you had sent me a copy of a tree certificate or tree survey of all the trees in the Diamond Centre, and some of them have been capped. I'm sure these 2 have been, but growth has meant that they need to be looked at again with regard to access in and around that particular area. And the final one on that entire area, Chair, it's actually with regard to ER 75, but disabled parking bays. Some time ago, there was a request that DFI would look at the current location of the disabled parking bays within Castlederg, because we felt there are some of them that are totally in the wrong places. For example, there's one outside a bank that is no longer a bank, and it was put there because it was a bank. So could that be followed up with DFI as to whether they are looking at disabled parking within Castlederg Town Centre? Thank you, Chair, for your forbearance.
Chair, happy to take that. In terms of the War Memorial, members will know that we've made an application for funding to undertake repairs and works to war memorials across the City District, and that is one of the ones that will be looked at. But we will look at it in the interim to ensure that it doesn't deteriorate any further. With regard to the trees, again, we'll pick that up as part of that process, and if there needs work to be done on trees, we can certainly do that. And again, we'll go back to DFI with regard to the disabled parking and whether or not a review of locations should be undertaken on their behalf.
Thank you. Just on the same vein, the same issue, just want to, Councillor Hussey, just put something under my head there. Just, Karen, you'll be aware yourself and me through a request from West Tyrone MP and Lisa McHugh MLE, the Chief Executive, yourself and other council officers met with a number of businesses in Castleberg just to, I suppose, take on board concerns and that around the ongoing redevelopment issue. So I'm just really seeking assurances that the outcome of that meeting will be fed back into the steering group for consideration. Thank you.
Yeah, through you, Chair, I'll check now where we're at with that meeting and how we're feeding back. That's no problem.
Thanks for that. Any other member, any matters arising out of the minutes? Alderman Kerrigan.
Thank you, Chair. And it's maybe not the most topical one given the weather we're in, but I was just going to touch on ER 66/23 or grit and salt boxes. Now, I know given the weather we're at now, but it's just, you know, there was a lot of commitment from DFI that we had replenished piles of salt here and there and the other, and they hadn't done it. Like, and we're going to have something. I mean, the amount of issues, I'm sure you have it yourself, Chair, where my salt boxes are sitting empty, or piles of grit on the side of the road, particularly in the rural area, are going, and there's nowhere to get them. And you're waiting for DFI to come out and put them out, and they'll land a week later, you know, and it's not good enough. I mean, you know, the light in particular, they're milkmen trying to get tankers on, or anybody else, or trying to get school buses, or even trying to get our own refuge lorries round them back road. You know, once you get that pile of grit, I mean, they're not leaving it out, and we've requested, they had in the past left a large pile at the bridge, you know, so it's just trying to get a wee, whether we write a letter or whether we just seek assurances that there will be a wee bit more proactive and replenishing piles of grit, or even just leaving some centrally and some locations in the rural area that they can be got by people, say ourselves or somebody else. But there's just something, because it's not, you know, they're grand leaving it out in maybe a pile of wee flat roads, but when it comes to anything with a hull, they're quite lacking in bringing anything out. But as I say, it's not topical for this time of the year, but it's better trying to give them a wee rattle now than when we get into that time. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Alderman. And of course, there will be an opportunity. I think road service are due in now for their winter report very shortly, so that'll be another opportunity to raise it. Okay, members, there's nobody else indicated, so we'll move on now to our next item, which is item 6, street naming and property numbering.
Thanks, Chair. This is to seek members' approval with regard to the addition of the name Drumlega to a number of properties within the locality known as Drumlega. Council is responsible for the allocation of postal addresses throughout the city and district, and as such has received a request from Drumlega Community Group to add the locality of Drumlega to a number of addresses in the local area. The request arises as a number of housing developments within the locality have the postal town of Newton Stewart, which is 5 to 6 miles away, included in their addresses currently, giving rise to confusion by, for example, parcel delivery services and so on, leading to the non-delivery and return of parcels. Royal Mail have indicated that other addresses sharing the same existing postcode will require Drumlega added to their address and will be provided with a new postcode. Newton Stewart will still be the postal town for the affected properties with the addition of Drumlega as a locality. Royal Mail require consent of the local council before they proceed with the resident survey and address change, and consequently members' consent is hereby sought for the addition of the name Drumlega to the addresses contained within Appendix 1.
Thank you, Conor. Alderman Hussey.
Chair, delighted to propose this recommendation. It's great to see townland names being highlighted, and that's exactly what this is doing. And the whole rationale from the applicant is rational, totally rational. So delighted to be able to propose that recommendation, Chair.
Okay, Alderman Kerrigan.
I'm content to second it. And I say, Chair, well, it's going down to the local village or settlement, I wouldn't just say we're just going to sit down to the townlands, but we're getting closer to it. So I know it's a wee bit more writing for some ones, but it does no harm. But definitely, in particular, the ones in Meadow Green and Scholars Green and Meadow Hill were tortured with things. You know, maybe Arkle and them other places in Liga Road South and that were a wee bit handier, but no, it's better to get it done. So I'm happy to second, Chair. Thank you.
Okay, members, take it that's unanimous. So move on.
Chair, a subsequent item on that, it's just really a query. house numbering, I know we deal with street names and all of that sort of stuff. The actual numbering of houses, do we take responsibility for that, or is that Royal Mail? If somebody, for example, puts a mobile home in their child's garden or their son or daughter's garden, and they want a number 59B or whatever, would it be council that deals with that, or Royal Mail?
Yeah, Chair, it's council that allocate postal numbers, and it's made by application. So council would then consider whether it was a valid request or not in consultation with a number of other consultees.
Okay, members, item 7, building control, review of local authority property certificates fees.
Thanks, Chair. This is to advise members with regard to an uplift in the local authority property certificate fees and seek support for the proposal. Members will be aware that council property certificate system arises from an agreement in the early 1990s between the Law Society, representing solicitors, and local councils as a means of providing and validating information which is useful in legal searches relating to the conveyance process for land and property. The process requires that council provide information in response to a number of set categories relating to specific property addresses, with information provided by environmental health, postal numbering, and building control. Members may recall that in 2020, councils agreed to increase the council's property certificate fee from £60 to £70, fixed until a further review in 2023. The review has now been undertaken by officers at a regional level, and given the increase in cost pressures on councils, officers sought and obtained SOLA's approval with regard to the application of a 3-year inflationary fee review cycle, with the fees uplifted accordingly. In undertaking the review, the officer team recommended uplifting the current fee of £70 to £90 to reflect the inflationary pressures experienced over the last number of years, with the next review to take place in 2026, unless there were significant changes to the council property certificate process, in which case councils would reserve the right to review the fees earlier. The proposed increase would assist councils in providing adequate resources to ensure that the service is delivered in a prompt, efficient and professional manner. The table below sets out the uplift in fees effective from the 1st of July 2023, and members are therefore asked to approve the uplift in costs as detailed above. Thanks, Chair.
Thanks for that report, Conor. Alderman Hussey.
Sorry for keeping coming in, but could you define property?
It's primarily buildings, as in houses and dwelling premises, office buildings and so on.
So fixtures and fittings are separate then, or not included?
Sure, that's my understanding of it, yeah.
Councillor Boyle. Okay, needed. Seconded by Alderman Hussey. I take that as unanimous, and nobody else has indicated there, which brings us then to item 8.
Thank you, Chair. I'll take this item, and the purpose, members, of the report is to seek your approval to strengthen previous commitments to protect the native Irish honeybee through designating council-owned lands as conservation areas in collaboration with local beekeeping associations. And members, you will recall that this links back to our green infrastructure plan, and we have endorsed the aspirations of the Beekeepers Association to make the council area a conservation area for the native black bee, and again relating to our district council pollinator plan to conserve pollinators on the island of Ireland at a local level within the district. So we have also been approached by the Native Irish Honeybee Association or Society regarding the importance of conserving the native Irish honeybee through the designation of conservation areas. And we have met with the dairy and district beekeepers who are supportive of conservation efforts to protect the native Irish honeybee population. So members, the importance of conservation areas is laid out in section 3 of your report, and we are recommending today that council lands, Derry City and Strabane District Council lands, be designated as a conservation area for the native Irish honeybee. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Karen. Councillor Hart.
Thanks, Karen, for the report. And I'd just like to say It was a Sinn Féin motion brought by Sandra Duffy that brought this about. I've actually done a bit of beekeeping. Last year did a beekeeping course with the Three Rivers, which is based in the Castlefin, Dunniloop area. So it's a very worthwhile cause. I just wanted to ask, has there actual sites been identified where this is going to take place? And is there going to be a partnership with beekeepers that they're going to locate beehives in these areas? And you mentioned the dairy beekeepers, that maybe you could incorporate the Three Rivers beekeeping for the Strabane, Castleberg area as well. Thank you.
Through you, Chair, on council-owned lands or adjoining council-owned lands, excuse me, dairy and district beekeepers have an apiary up at Brook Park. In addition to this, they also have aspirations to develop an apiary over in St. Colum's Park as part of the Acorn Farm project. So I think both beekeeping associations are very much supportive of the objectives of breeding the Irish native bee, as opposed to importing other bees from various different other countries, because of the difficulties with these in terms of the impact they have on our native Irish bee populations. So what that would mean, basically, any beekeepers who come forward, and beekeepers normally come through associations, okay, and if they want to set up an apiary on council-owned land, we would work with them to ensure that they are the native Irish bee.
Thank you.
Okay, Councillor John Boyle.
Thanks, Chair. It needs a proposer, so I'm content to propose the item in front of us here. And I do recall the motion brought by Councillor Duffy at that particular time. Just to say to the officers, actually, it's refreshing sometimes when you read a report and committee papers, and it's an education for you. I wasn't familiar with the some of the habits of the native Irish honeybee, shall we put it that way, and so certainly very interesting. Clearly, I don't have the experience of beekeeping that Councillor Hart has, but you know what? It's never too late. I have some friends who do it. Clearly, something that's very, very welcome. It's a follow-up on what clearly already is a very strong policy from the City and District Council through this chamber. So, yeah, I'm content to propose that we proceed as in the paper, Chair.
Alderman
I
Hussey.
can second that.
Okay, Councillor Hart seconded. Alderman Hussey.
Briefly, obviously, we have limited holdings, and there are other agencies and private organisations, Abercorn Estate, Honourable Area Society, etc., Rivers Agency, who will have also areas that might be utilised. Is there liaison with them to encourage them to establish similar scenarios?
Members, through you, we do have very good close working relationships with other landowners, particularly public sector landowners across the district through our green infrastructure plan, and indeed we have a working group with those various agencies. So this is obviously something that can be raised through that forum in order to try and encourage action by other agencies in line with our pollinators plan for the district. So happy to do it.
Alderman Kerrigan.
Thank you very much, Chair, for allowing me in. Be very brief. In regards to this, will this be kind of an add-on to this, effectively, don't mow, let it grow kind of scenario? Is this a way where we will be leaving certain sections and that we won't be cutting? And just as a follow-on from that, it's making the public aware of that, because we do get it in the neck about council aren't maintaining areas of ground. So, that's going to have to be properly advertised and properly pushed, that this is the reasoning behind we're not cutting these sections or whatever else, because we do get it then of look how unkept and untidy it is.
Members, happy to take that on board. We do quite a lot of social media around our campaigns for Don't Mow, Let It Grow. And we do get feedback from members of the public both ways, if we cut something or if we don't or whatever. But we will continue with that and take that point on board. Happy to do that.
Okay, members, I think we have a consensus in the room on the recommendation there, which has been proposed and seconded. So we'll move on then to item 9, which is the consultation on climate change reporting by public bodies.
Thank you, Chair, and I'll take that report. And members, the purpose of the report is to seek members' endorsement of our draft response to the consultation on climate change reporting by specified public bodies in relation to the Climate Change Act Northern Ireland. So members, again, in March 2023, the DAERA launched a consultation on developing future regulations that will place climate change reporting duties on specified public bodies. So basically, the consultation that's before you today that we have prepared a draft response doesn't actually cover the agreed or confirmed policy, but seeks views to help inform policy development and decisions by a future DAERA minister and the executive in relation to this issue. So the Act provides powers for regulations to require specific public bodies to provide climate change reports, and there's details in your report in terms of specifically what they would like information on that's contained within the Act. The consultation document is attached to your pack today, and also the draft response on behalf of Council. And also we have included for you the benefits, a short document outlining the benefits of reporting for public bodies, which are relating to strategic planning and risk management, capital allocation and better decision making, and better data availability and transparency. So members, we have prepared a draft response, as I mentioned, and we're asking you to endorse and approve the attached response. Now, there is a short window of opportunity. We need to send this back to the department for the 30th of June. Obviously, the report will be ratified, hopefully, at full council. And so if any member has anything additional that they want to actually add to the consultation response, please let us know, and we can certainly consider that in time for full council. So happy to take any questions or queries that members may have.
Thanks, Karen, for the report. Is there any member has a question or comment to make? Go ahead, Councillor McGinley.
Not so much a comment, but thanks for the report. Karen, from a Sinn Féin perspective, we're content to endorse and they propose the recommendation that's within the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor McGinley. Members, I'm sensing another consensus in the room, so we'll take that as being approved. And go on to our next item, which is item 10, Stavan Skate Park site options.
Thank you, Chair, and members. The purpose of this report is to update members on the engagement process in relation to a potential skate park at Beachmount Avenue in Strabane. And members, you will recall at our meeting in November 21, we discussed discussions with the chairperson of the Strabane Skate Park Association and looked to see how we could actually take forward a potential possible areas that a skate park could be developed in Strabane. So in January 23, the committee approved that officers progress with residents' engagement in relation to Beachmount Avenue, and following on from this, undertook consultation by hand delivering letters to about 90 residents who live adjacent to council-owned lands at Beachmount Avenue. And members, we've sent you the details of that correspondence. The consultation period ran from the 15th of March to the 3rd of April, and we had 8 email responses. And I think that out of the 8 responses, 5 were in support and 3 weren't supportive of the plans. And members, we've summarised the findings of that research with your pack today. So again, members, there were, again, as I said, some support and some concerns in relation to traffic, antisocial behaviour, etc. But members, as you are aware, no funding as yet has been identified to deliver the project. However, we may be in a position to take it further for more design development at this stage. So again, given the low response rate that we've received in relation to this, I think that should members decide to undertake additional design development in relation to this site, we would propose that more resident engagement is undertaken at a later stage. So members, the recommendation before you is that you endorse Beachmont Avenue as a preferred site for the development of skate park facility based on the majority support, and that we progress then to more detailed consideration of the project. But happy to take any questions or comments from members. Thank you.
Thanks, Karen. I have a number of councillors indicated here. Councillor Hart.
Thanks, Karen, for the update. Just to say, I have no vested interest. I'm not a skateboarder. May look like one here, but when I was chair of the Riverine Community Forum, it was an area that we got quite a lot of feedback on for the provision of a skateboard. So I think it's a very valuable asset, you know, to have in Strabane. So I would wholeheartedly endorse the proposals for the skateboard park in Beachmont Avenue. That area is derelict more or less at the minute. So under the proviso that the residents, read a number of the residents' reports and that their concerns be taken on board. So I would say that if it was, you know, the area was secured, if the park was secured and maybe time limited, that would be very, very, very good. So just to say that I am happy to propose and endorse this. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Raymond Barrett.
You Chair, this is an issue that's been dragging on for quite a while now, and I know myself that some local elected reps and Strabane Skate Park Association have put an awful lot of work into this, but I think at last we're in a situation here where there could be a positive outcome. So I've been more than happy to second Councillor Hart's proposal.
Councillor Jason Barrett.
Thank you, Chair. And just as the two previous members, I'm happy to endorse this paper 100%. As Councillor Raymond Barr rightly said, the amount of elected members have been on this to try and get it over the line as much as possible. And I'd like to, at this stage, pay tribute to Councillor Stephen Edwards, who I know put a lot of work and making sure that this will be delivered along with Liam Canning and others. So without a doubt, definitely happy to support this, and as long as the residents' concerns are taken on board also. So again, more than happy to support. Chair, thank you very much.
Alderman Hussey.
Similarly, very content to support recommendations in front of us. You yourself referred at the very beginning about members who have been on this committee in the past, and it has been referred to there, Councillor Edwards, the outgoing Councillor Edwards, and the work that he did put into this. So those who are on the committee are well aware of the issues all around this, and it's a worthwhile project to be pursued, provided, of course, as has been said, the NIMBY issues can all be addressed going forward. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you, members. Again, I'm sensing consensus in the room again on that issue. So, members, that brings us on to items for information. That's items 11 to 17. I will remind members that they are for information only. So if you do have a question or a comment on it, I would ask you to keep it brief. I will go through them one by one. So item 11 is the building control applications. Nobody's indicating. So item 12 is proposed disabled parking bays at various locations. Item 13 is DFI, no waiting restriction loading bay, Duncragan Road and Foy Road. And Councillor Boyle wants to come in on this one. Go ahead, John.
Chair, I'll keep it brief as you requested. It's just in relation to Duncragan Road. The map's not great in our pack, and so it's very difficult to identify exactly what it's meant by the no waiting restriction at Duncragan Road. So am I to presume, and perhaps I'm wrong, that is a double yellow line all the way down one side of Duncragan Road? Or I suppose the straightforward question is, what is it?
Through you, Chair. Members, I apologise. I hadn't actually realised that the type would be so bad on this particular map, and I can arrange to have that sent back out to members and contact DFI accordingly if need be. basically, I think that no waiting is no waiting. So basically, I think pretty much what you're saying is that, you know, it's no waiting. So I
No
can-
waiting mean no parking. That's
Well-
what I would like to know, because one, you know, like,
Well, members,
it may well seem we're getting any semantics here, but I know that the residents of that neighbourhood would like to know that it was simply no parking.
yeah,
And
well,
if that's what it means,
that's
then
my
I'm
understanding.
content to propose
Yeah.
it. If that's not what it means,
no,
then I would have a different
that's my
view.
understanding, members.
So, based on the understanding of our senior officer, Chair, I'll propose, well, it's not, it doesn't need a proposal, but you know what, we could have had a whole debate about it, so I'm glad it's been cleared up for me.
Okay, item 15 is. Oh, yeah, sorry, Karen wants to come back in there on item 14.
Yeah, Chair, members, it's just for your information in terms of, if you will recall from the previous committee, we advised members of a funding application to Innovate UK, which is basically where the UK government had intended to provide funding to 20 councils across the UK in terms of a fast followers programme. And we had applied, members, you'll recall that we have been very active in terms of the climate agenda over the last number of years. And we are pleased to report back to you that we have been very successful in that funding. Only 20 councils across the whole of the UK were successful, and we've secured £300,000 over the next 2 years. And members, your report outlines really what the funding will be used for. So in terms of a specific net zero innovation and delivery officer, and indeed a delivery of support modules, and again, engaging with that network in order to be able to actually, you know, look at best practice, etc. So the project objectives are outlined in your report, but it's the funding is provided at 100% with no match funding requirement. So again, I'm just pleased to note that we've received that council funding. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, thanks, Karen. And just to say, also like to welcome that funding. It's always good when you get funding that's 100%. There's no requirement for match funding from council, so great to see. Members, our next item is item 15, Living with Water Vision for Dairy / London Dairy. Anybody want to raise that? Item 16, sorry, Councillor Norris, item 15.
Just, it sort of links into I talk about the flooding all the time, this meeting, you know, but sort of links in with that, you know, and the green food, it's a welcome thing that there's a multi-departmental vision now, but sort of again, you know, you're looking at it thinking, where's it going to lead to, you know, and who are they talking to? Because we don't seem to talk to these people at all, you know, they seem to be faceless as such, you know, so I'd welcome that they would have conversations rather than just a report, you know, or a vision.
Through you, Chair, members, the Living with Water team did come to committee, I think it was February, and presented the wider vision. But certainly, you know, it's good to see that they're focusing on developing a strategy and indeed a plan for the area. And members, we will continue with the previous mandates. If members are happy to ask for flooding updates in addition. We did actually contact the department, and I had asked Kerry to email round to members an update in relation to some of the flooding initiatives in the city and district, which will include on the report to the next committee. But certainly I understand the point. They have been engaging with officers basically and partner stakeholders across the district in terms of how they actually take forward this project. And again, we will bring them back into members for a further update as soon as possible.
Sorry, Chair, thank you, Karen. Just another point, just a flooding, like, I know that there was a letter sent out about flooding, but it's sort of left out of the agenda again this month, you know, and it's just to remember to just to keep it on. And like, on that report, it sort of talked about, like, you know, especially in Eglinton, about the last flood. It said about the waters was established, it wasn't the rivers, it like came down the Ballygunn Road. Like, people that live there knows this, you know, and now they're given a consultant now, and they look at it, you know, and now this is like 6 years on, and you know, and it sort of just seems mental, you know, that it's just a continuation all the time. And like, let's be honest, we've had dry weather, so and this is not just for Eglinton, this is for the whole town. The lands are now going to be hard, and we are going to get, we got rain yesterday, but didn't come as much as that we expected. If we get a big downpour of rain, we're going to get the exact same thing again. We're going to get regional flooding right across this town. Thank you.
Alderman Middle.
Sorry, I know it's slightly off topic, but thank you. I just want to echo Declan's points as well. It has gone on to 6 years now since the first disastrous flooding, and I think it needs to be on the agenda every time. And I certainly have engaged with many residents as well, and they shouldn't have to be living in fear. But I do welcome the fact that there are positive moves forward and there are plans that are being created at present, but maybe timeframes as well would be really useful for residents in that regard. Thank you.
Members happy to note those comments and feed them back to DFI. Thank you.
Item 16, members, is our mobile update. Item 17 is update on Waterloo Place Parklet. So nobody indicating on any of them, so that means we go into our confidential section of the meeting. So I'll proposed by Councillor Boyd, seconded by Councillor Barrett. Just wait for the nod from our IT man here before we go into confidential.